Welcome. My name is Cathi Nelson. I'm the CEO and founder of the Photo Managers. And besides that title, what I really am is passionate about helping people organize their photos so they can share their photo legacy. I'm also the author of 2 best-selling books. This one going from Photo Organizing Made Easy, going from overwhelmed to overjoyed, which we'll give away 5 of those today. And then also one called a business roadmap for starting a professional photo organizing business, because believe it or not, this is a growing profession with people all over the world who will actually help you get those photos in some kind of order, curated, scanned, or whatever you need if you find that doing that piece of the work difficult for yourself. So that's who I am, and I'm really excited to be here today with our favorite partner, Nixplay.
Thanks, Cathi. Fantastic introduction, and great to be here. First time doing anything with the Photo Managers. So I'm going to try something a little bit different. Before I start, I wanted to ask the room, what do you see? I mean, when you look at this slide, what jumps out? What is it you see when you look at this slide? Anyone can answer, put it in the chat, shout out loud. I'm going to just take a couple minutes before I introduce myself.
Let me jump. Eagle, family, people, memories, eagle, family photos, family courage, busy, generations, moments and times, variety, generations.
Oh, you're just too good at this. You're too good. Absolutely.
Older people, life, family vacation.
Yeah, this is a good room.
Very busy family.
It is very busy. It's very busy. Let me perhaps explain what they are and what they mean to me. So you're absolutely right. They're moments in time, snapshots, if you like. In fact, they're actually my memories. So they're pictures of me growing up. They're pictures I've taken. They're pictures of my family. But I think what's interesting here is I'd actually forgotten about a lot of these. And I'd forgotten about them because I don't remember much of my kind of childhood, early years. And we came across boxes of photos when sadly both my parents died a couple of years ago. But actually, when I look at these, what they do is they narrate a story to me. And for me, it's simple. It's a celebration of life. You know, I had a great life growing up. And I know Cathi and many others call this their photo legacy. And I think it sums it up perfectly. So yeah, thank you for all the contributions there. So I'm Michael. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Nixplay, and I thought as a bit of an icebreaker, I would perhaps talk about 3 things that 3 facts about me. So, as you'd probably expect, from a CTO, you'd expect me to be in and around innovation, particularly from a software perspective, but I've actually been doing this for 30 years now, which is started to make me feel a little bit long in the tooth. I worked for banking and pharmaceutical companies, building global systems for almost 20 years. But after that, I started doing something a little bit more interesting and working with companies that create products with purpose. And I actually had my own startup in the UK and US, helping people manage long-term health conditions and doing clinical trials with Mount Sinai. So that's number 1. Number 2, I guess you can say I wear a badge, which is an amateur photographer. Many of the pictures you saw a moment were pictures I took. My favorite genre is people. I love taking pictures of people, particularly portraiture. And also wildlife and birds. And I guess the final point, and it's in here for a reason, is actually I live with Parkinson's. So I was diagnosed with Parkinson's 12 years ago at 40. Actually, sorry, that's almost 14 years ago. I'm losing a couple of years here. I'm 54 later this year. So the reason I actually mention this is photos to me are very, very special because they are my memories. They mean a lot to me. So as perhaps my memory isn't quite as good as it was, the photos are a real good reminder for me. And that's a theme we're really going to start seeing through here. The importance of photos and importance of family and sharing those moments and memories as well. So Nixplay, I'm not sure how many people in the room own a Nixplay frame or multiple frames or even know of who we are, but Nixplay, I guess a little tagline in this slide, trusted technology created for families and tailored for grandparents. So really to sum this up, I thought I'd share some of the questions that I'm often asked. And the first thing that people often ask me is around privacy and security. But ultimately, what we're really getting to is it safe? And I'm going to answer each of these actually, because as I mentioned, I spent much of my career working for banking and pharmaceutical clients. So the privacy, the security was paramount. But actually, for me, this is more important because we're not talking about big companies. We're not talking about vast businesses. We're talking about something that's far more precious. And we're talking about people's memories here and their personal, sharing those personal details. So I guess a few important pointers for anyone that's buying a frame, whether it's Nixplay or not, actually make sure the data is stored in the US or somewhere similar. For us, we store all our data in the US. It's encrypted and we guard access to that. And very important, we don't sell any data or provide any access to the memories through videos and photos that people upload to us. And right now we store over a billion photos, and we serve around 1.7 billion photos on people's frames in their homes every day. So that's important. Another interesting question. People have said, I can share on other platforms, and specifically the platforms that have been mentioned to me in the past, platforms like WhatsApp, or my daughter mentioning we can share on Instagram, or I've already got a Facebook account. So what's the difference? And I think it's a great question. And I think all of those platforms actually have got their place. But what makes us different? So first and foremost, of course, you can place a digital photo frame in any room or numerous rooms where you want to see that content. And what's different is actually you don't need to interact with those platforms to see the content. So as your family, your friends are sending you content, it's being delivered conveniently and behind the scenes. So when you walk in the room, you've got a picture of your grandson, your granddaughter, your favorite pet, whatever the subject is. So that's one of the big differentiators. The next one, and probably a more important one, is Nixplay's private. We don't share your content. So only you and the people that contribute to your photos and videos and sharing that are the people that can see it. There's no external visibility of that. And again, importantly, we just don't share data and we don't sell it. So ultimately, it's all about trust. And then the other question that I've heard a lot from some frame owners actually is, I'm not great with technology. I'm not good with technology. How easy is it to use? And what I would say to this is, when I think about our customers and I think about how they use it in the two categories, I like to think of people as either a frame owner or a non-frame owner. And a non-frame owner, let's start with those just for a moment, but a non-frame owner is someone that perhaps is in your family and wants to share. They live in another state or another country, and they want to be able to send you photos of little Johnny, and his first steps. So that's a non-frame owner. They're contributing to your experience and they're sharing those moments and memories with you. And the second group, as I mentioned, is the frame owners, and generally they want a way to easily view the content through photos and videos on the frames they own. So everything we do is about making it as easy as possible for those two categories. that's I guess that's where the buck stops with me, because what I probably should have said as part of my introduction is, as the CTO at Nixplay, I'm actually ultimately responsible for everything technology related and product related, ultimately because I've been building product for 30 years. So the buck stops with me. If it's good and you like it, then I'll give the credit to someone else. If there's something you don't like, the buck stops with me, and hey, that's on me. That's what we do. And we've also built, included a couple really quite unique features actually that help people that don't feel as confident or comfortable with technology, where they might have a family member that is. And as long as your frame is powered on and it's connected to Wi-Fi, someone in your family can help you manage those settings remotely. So that's just an example of how we help people that just don't feel as confident. I love this. I love this because it reminds me. This reminds me of growing up actually, and it reminds me of a story my father used to tell me, because the world has changed and families really are more dispersed. You know, I mentioned states, countries, but I remember my father telling me a story actually. He was one of 7 brothers and sisters. And he was actually considered the black sheep of the family because he was the only one of the 7 that moved away. And growing up in Manchester in England, most of his siblings actually, not only did they live in Manchester, they actually lived in the same street. So as I say, the world is a very, very different place, and how we tell stories and how we interact is very, very different now. So I think the importance of sharing those memories and moments, it's just one of the ways we tell our stories. And this is one of the things I love about Nixplay, because I spoke about working with companies that create products with purpose. And for me, Nixplay enables that. So it has a very valuable purpose. And I shouldn't forget, grandparents absolutely have some of the best stories. Ultimately, they've lived the longest lives. They've had the most diverse lives. They're not tied to a screen kind of most of their lives. So I used to love the stories that I used to get from my grandparents and my parents actually. And we shouldn't forget, I mean, they love being involved. And that's not being involved from a busybody or interfering. Everyone wants to be involved and see what's happening. And again, what we're trying to do is make it as easy as possible for family and friends to share those moments and memories with grandparents and with other people. And especially when they can't be there. So one of the things we were going to speak about today actually is Nixplay created something where we called it gifting, and then actually it probably wasn't a great name, but ultimately it was about how do you preload content. So we know Nixplay is a great gift. You know, it's a fabulous thing. You put in your home, and it enables the sharing. But if you're not comfortable with it, if someone's not necessarily comfortable with technology, how do you make it easy for them? So going from the point of receiving a gift and unboxing, and if you're street, a different country, a different state, how do you make that gift really seamless for them? So one of the things we did is we enabled people to preload content without even seeing the frame, without touching it, without unboxing it. And you can do that through our mobile app. So you can create a gift, and we're going to take a look at how we do this shortly. Why is it important, and what have we seen since we launched this? So we launched this, as you can see on the slide. It mentions November 22, but it was actually very late November 22 we started this. But what we've seen of all the frames we have sold to date, since, so effectively end of November to today, we've sold almost 20% of them have been set up as a gift. So the people that are buying them, they are setting them up and preloading the content onto them. So they're uploading the video, the photos, adding messages. So when they're unboxed, switched on and connected to Wi-Fi, all of that content, all of those precious moments are already there. If you're new to Nixplay, the first time you create your account, and we can see here actually, it was Laura that created an account. She's going to see three options. So she's either going to set up her frame because she's purchased a frame. She's going to set one up for someone else and preload the content, and that's the flow that we're looking at. And then the other one is actually if you already have a frame and you want someone else to be able to send photos and videos to your frame, then they can also join Nixplay and they can just share photos and videos with you without owning a frame. But the second one in the middle there, this is where we can see there are 4 steps. So we've got Grandpa John's details. So Grandpa John's details, that's things importantly, actually touch on a couple of the important ones. It's his email address and also where he lives. And where he lives, we're actually looking for the time zone opposed to where we don't have an address. The reason the time zone is important is when he powers the frame on, we'll automatically configure it with the right time zone. So that means the frame will automatically switch off and switch on based on the time zone that Grandpa John is in. So there's power saving options there. So there's just a few questions in there. The next one is the greeting message. And again, we'll see that in a second, but that's where little Lucy had a nice message and a beautiful picture that Grandpa John is going to see when he redeems the gift. And then after that, you can upload any number of photos and videos. And again, that's the content that will be automatically loaded onto Grandpa John's frame as soon as he connects it to Wi-Fi and he's redeemed that gift code. And that's all of that content coming in. And then the 4th step is the one that I mentioned. You can skip there if you want to, but if you've got other family you want to be able to add a message or also add photos and videos, they can do it as well. And then we're going to end up with a gift code, as you can see on image number 3 there. So we're touching on a couple of the different steps here, but you can see one of the questions, the step 1, we can see what the occasion is, and that allows us to sort of customize the experience a little bit. In this case, it's Grandparents' Day. And we've got the greeting message, which was sort of step 2, with little Lucy adding a beautiful message, gorgeous picture. And that again is what's going to come through. And then some of the photos you can see in an album that's automatically created as part of the process. And the screens here are all from, actually, that they're from the contributor, and this is where we can invite anyone. So I'm looking at the screen of faces over to my left here. So this is where, for instance, if I had Mary's email, I could invite Mary or Kristen, etc. And then you would be able to automatically add your own photos and videos to this gift. And then just recapping, going back to the frame, so we can see the getting started. Again, as soon as it's powered on and it's connected to Wi-Fi, this is what the person receiving the gift, unboxing, is going to see. And they can simply choose they have a gift code or they don't. If they have a gift code, because we've set one up and we've shared it for them, and I should say, we don't automatically share it. We leave that to you. And the only reason is we don't want to spoil the surprise and deliver it early. You know, it's easy to say, well, actually, it's Christmas Day, we want it on Christmas Day, but we're going to be there, and then you get stuck on a flight, or you don't get there in time, but we've spoiled the surprise. So we give you the ability to have a reminder, and then you share it on text, on email, whatever you want, or even better, in person. Enter the gift code, enter the email as part of the gift, and it's as simple as that. All of the messages, all of the content will appear automatically and instantly for Grandpa John. Hopefully there's going to be some questions there, because I can't believe I've nailed that. But as you can see, I know Cathi mentioned it earlier, and Cathi, I'll hand back to you in a second. 5 copies of Cathi's book, and from Nixplay, 20% off for anyone in the room for any of our Nixplay frames. So Cathi, let me hand back to you.
Okay, thank you. Isabel has pulled some names she's going to announce, and then she will also, I think, Isabel, we'll go through the questions. Were you able to keep track? And you definitely have questions have come in. I know Denise has been busy answering some of them, but there's definitely some questions. So who has won Photo Organizing Made Easy, Isabel?
So I'm going to close my eyes and just go through the participants list and pick 5 people. So the first winner is Joanne Cooper. Second winner.
And then we will be sending you an email, each of you winners, to get your mailing address, because we will be mailing this to you.
Yes.
Okay.
The next winner is Deb Walbom. The third winner is Ellen Citron. The fourth winner is Andrea Zeelinger. And the last and 5th winner is Doug Kerr.
Great.
Congratulations, everyone.
Congratulations. The book has been out for very well received, and we're thrilled to share those copies with you. And so Isabel, I think we can go, you want to just go that one more screen quickly, and then we'll come back to this one, and we'll do questions at the end there. Just a little bit about the photo managers. If you're interested in learning more about us, you can check out our website. And that next month is Save Your Photos Month, which is a month of free classes. Nixplay is a great sponsor. We started this 8 years ago in response to all the extreme weather events that were happening 8 years ago, but it's free educational classes all month long about everything from saving your legacy. We give away lots of prizes, so you can register there at saveyourphotos.org. And there's some other information there. We have, I do a weekly newsletter called Cathy's Picks. You can join our private Facebook group called the Photo Organizing Hub, where if you have questions about scanning or how to organize photos or get photos from your iPhone and all sorts of things, we answer those questions there. So, and there's more information there, but we'll make sure that's in the email copy that we send out as well to you. So at this point, Isabel, why don't you go ahead and start going through the questions that we have at this point?
Yeah, so Denise has done a great job going through and answering them throughout the session, but I'll highlight some of the newer ones. Can you add sound and music to your frame?
Great question. So currently you can't add music there, but if you were uploading videos, the audio on the video will play. So you can't send Spotify or upload an MP3 music file or something like that.
Can you go back in later and add someone to share photos?
Oh, absolutely. I think this is really the heart and the hub of Nixplay. So you can actually do that as part of setting a gift up if the gift hasn't been shared, or post the gift, or even if there's no gift in here, you can create shared albums. And all that means is you can add a number of people to that, and they can then see that in their app, whether that's the mobile app or the web app, and they can upload directly to it. and whatever they upload will appear on the screen. And that really goes back to the heart of it doesn't matter where someone is in the world, and the families being more disparate. Yeah, it's all about the sharing.
And do you have any suggestions for people who want to gift a frame to someone who doesn't currently have an email address?
Yeah, sure. I mean, they could set it up with their own email address, for instance. That would be that would probably be the easiest way to do it.
And someone is saying that they tried once to send photos via their Nixplay email, and the frame never got them. The frame never got them. So is that something that's working now?
It may have been working then as well. Actually, there's a safety feature, and there's a safety feature. It would have back then. It would have been in the Me tab. But if you've got the latest app, the tab is now called More. And within the settings, there's something called an email shield. And this is a safety feature that is on by default. Because if we was to have it off by default, what could potentially happen is anyone that had that email address could automatically just send photos directly to your frame. So the email shield allows the frame owner to see requests coming in from unknown senders, and they have to approve it before it comes through. So it may have been as simple as their email hadn't been approved to allow emailed photos to appear.
And can you talk a little bit about Nixplay Plus and the benefits of it?
Yeah, of course. So we actually have a couple of subscriptions. Nixplay Plus is, as the name suggests, it's actually the sort of the top one that unlocks everything. Some of the features it unlocks are things like an enhanced photo editing, unlock the ability to have more shared playlists, more content. So it's predominantly increasing a few limits that are there. But importantly, I think there's a couple other ones that are people I know from the conversations I've had and seeing sort of the support chat. One of the big ones that seems to resonate with people are things like a lifetime warranty. So we go from beyond the manufacturer's warranty through to a lifetime warranty on the frames. So there's also a peace of mind there.
And how would you resend an invitation for someone to share?
Resend?
Yes.
Okay, so if you go into right now in Nixplay, we call them playlists. But if you go into that playlist, you can view who you are sharing with. And in there, you will see if they have accepted the invite or they haven't. So if they haven't accepted it, it will still be showing as pending, at which case the easiest way to do it is probably just to remove it and to resend it.
And someone is saying that they are having issues allowing their camera roll to connect to Nixplay. Is this something that you would be able to walk through, or would they be better off reaching out to Nixplay support?
I'm going to say go through to Nixplay support, but I can tell you straight off the bat what it is actually. So the first time the app is installed, one of the questions that we have to ask, the phone makes us ask it, is we have to ask for access to the camera roll. And by default, there are two options that we have to present. So we're forced to present these two options. One is selected images only. The other is all images. Now, what I've seen is sometimes people, all images means we can actually see the images. We can't. All it means is when you want to select from your camera roll, the app is allowed to see your entire camera roll. If you've selected images, what will happen is each time you go to the camera roll, you will only ever see the images that you first selected. So what needs to be done is the permission needs to be changed in the settings on the phone. Support are very, very used to this, and will take you through it very, very well. And by all means, feel free to name drop and say, I asked you to reach out to them.
And does the frame have to be on or just plugged in to add photos?
To add photos.
Yes.
It needs to be powered on and connected to Wi-Fi. That's if the screen is not on, it does not matter. So if it's gone to sleep, it doesn't matter. As long as it is powered on and it has a Wi-Fi connection, then the photos can be added.
And what's the best way to send photos to the frame, either from a phone or a computer?
So I'm not quite sure I understand on that. But if you're using the phone or the computer, generally there's actually only one way, and that is you're choosing. Actually, there are two ways. I beg your pardon, but the best way then is to select the playlist that you want to organize those photos in. Go into that, and then if you're using the mobile app, the bottom right of the screen, there is a big plus button. So it's kind of our teal, Nixplay teal green with a white cross on it. If you click the plus, you'll be given the option to upload from your camera roll or take a photo, upload from your camera roll where you can select multiple photos and upload those directly to that playlist.
And how many photos can you load onto the Nixplay at once?
In a single upload?
I believe that's what the question is referring to.
Okay. So right now it's 100 a time. But what I can say is we are going to be removing that limit, and we're working to change how that works to make it easier for people that want to upload, for example, 1,000 photos in one go. So we're changing that. But right now it's 100, which for most people tends to work, I think. But if you're new to Nixplay and it might be your first time you're uploading, you might want to upload more than that. And that's something I experienced for the first time. I gave a frame to a friend who stayed with me at Christmas, and I watched their excitement as they went through and selected hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pictures, but they could only upload 100 at a time. So we're changing that.
And does a user need to do anything special in order to upload a video to their frame, or is that the same as a picture? No,
the upload is the same, and actually that's a really good question, because it also ties into a previous question around what are some of the benefits of Nixplay Plus or even the other subscriptions. So the video duration for a non-Nixplay Plus or non-Nixplay Lite customer is actually 15 seconds. So the videos can only be 15 seconds long. If you are a Nixplay Plus subscriber, it's actually 2 minutes long. So it's exactly the same process. Go to the playlist, click the plus button, But rather than choosing, for instance, photos, and by the way, you can choose photos and videos in this process, but for this example, it might be you want to upload one or two videos or any number of videos, same process.
And do you need to create a folder for a person that is sending photos? And do you need then a folder for each sender?
No. So it's all done through the shared playlists. So the person that is if you like, the recipient or the organizer of the folder, and in Nixplay terminology, we're going to call the folder a playlist, or people might think about it as an album. So the person that's the organizer creates that. Then what they do is they invite the people they want to contribute to that by adding their email address. So it's not a case that the sender and the receiver has to create that album, that playlist. You're sharing that playlist.
Can users add dates and titles to photos? I assume captions, something like that. Is that possible?
So yeah, so captions can be added. And you could argue that the caption could be anything, and it could be dates. But actually, this is an area we're spending quite a bit of time looking at. How do we create that experience to be a little bit better? So there are certain bits of data that exist within a photograph already. So it could be that if you allow access to location, and you took a photo in a specific location, we can capture that location. So when you're viewing that photo, you can say, show me the information about that photo. You can see location as an example. Equally, you can see when it was taken and a few other bits of data, bits of information there. But going back to the captions is where we limit at the moment. But what that does mean is if you add a caption to a photo, when it displays on the frame, the captions will be visible on the frame, as long as you can turn captions on and off on the frame. Really, really easy. It's one setting. But by default, if you add a caption, and whether that's hey, happy birthday, little Lucy. When little Lucy sees that on her family's frame, that caption is going to be visible with the photo or video, photo actually, sorry, I beg your pardon, that it was added on.
We have a couple of questions about the limitations of how many people can send or be invited to send photos, as well as how many total photos can be put on the frame. What's the max number? Yeah,
let's start with the total photos on the frame, actually, because that's a great question. And I think sometimes it's one that perhaps people sometimes get a little bit hung up on. And I know myself coming into Nixplay, when I was looking at joining Nixplay and I was looking at their frames, it was one of the questions I wondered, how many photos can it store? But then what we've actually done since I joined Nixplay is we've changed the limits we had. So we have your frame, and the frame has some internal storage, and then you have your Nixplay cloud, which is where that's our secure cloud, and that's where we store, say, over 1 billion photos. So you actually have unlimited cloud storage. So the frame storage very quickly becomes irrelevant, because what happens is as your frame storage fills up, the photos that aren't being viewed are cycled or rotated so that we pull down more of your photos from your cloud storage. So we kind of cycle it in a circle there. So the frame storage isn't limiting how many photos you can have on there. And of course, just going back to that direct question, though, it also depends on the size of each photo, because if it was a limiting factor, it's not, thankfully. But if it was, and all of your photos were 12 megabytes versus 1 megabyte, obviously it would have filled the storage up sooner. But as I say, that's not an issue. Why is there a limit? I can see I've gone onto the photos and the playlists. Yeah, the limits in playlists, it's a great question, and it's one we're constantly reviewing. So what we're looking at is, from a performance perspective, how quickly can we get the content within a playlist and display it on the frame? 2000 as a maximum number has been a pretty good benchmark for us in the past. Does it mean it's going to stay at 2000? Actually, I think there's probably that's probably going to increase. I'm not going to say when, but it's something that I personally, with the infrastructure team, regularly review from a performance perspective. So it's a trade-off for us on how quickly, when you assign a playlist to your frame, how quickly do you see the content?
And what size file uses the screen's resolution to the full effect, but doesn't overdo it and waste storage?
Sorry, say that again. I'm just looking for that chat as well. But say that one again, sorry.
No worries. What size file uses the screen's resolution to the full effect, but doesn't overdo it and waste storage? So I'm assuming the question is,
Okay.
What's the best file size for performance in the Nixplay?
Okay, so I'm actually going to pick a different part of that question out to start with, and I'm going to pick out the doesn't waste storage. So the first thing I'm going to say is that's not a worry, because you've got unlimited storage. So not something we need to kind of concern ourselves with. Before I joined, yes, we used to have a photo storage limit, but that was, as I say, we dropped that and gave everyone unlimited photo storage December last year. So that's not an issue. The second part of that is around resolution. And actually, we do something that's, I'm going to say a little bit smart here, or a little bit clever, not terribly, but because frames can have different screen sizes, different resolutions, one photo you upload may not fit all of them. So we actually store an original, but then based on the frame it's going to be presented on, we look at how can we resize that in a way that maintains the proportions, but is best suited for your personal frame. So that's what we do at the moment. Again, some really exciting pieces coming up here, but I can't say too much just yet. But definitely about optimizing the experience and maximizing the screen and the viewing enjoyment. So it's something it's a pet project, actually.
Can you use the frame without Wi-Fi or internet in the case that you are gifting it to someone who doesn't have access to internet?
No, none of the frames, and there's not a huge amount of frames on the market nowadays that have a SD card or a USB port in them now, because that's what would be needed. I think we stopped doing that many years ago once we moved to a cloud-based solution. In the absence of that, though, and it is fairly limited, but in the absence, you could preload the content onto the frame. Someone who has the Wi-Fi could preload it and then put it in the home of someone that does not, for instance.
And how would you rotate the photos in the app so that it doesn't cut off heads?
So we can use the image editor. Again, I'm going to say this is a bit of a, this again is a bit of a pet project for me. So one of the things you can do on the frame is you can enable smart face framing. Now, it's not perfect. It doesn't get it right 100% yet. But what it will do is it looks to see if there are any faces in the photo, and it will try position the photo to make sure it's not chopping the heads off. We're not beheading the subjects. So say it's not perfect yet, it's something we're working on. But that is something that can be enabled on the frame in the settings.
I'm trying to see. Next question. Let's see. Are you going to be selling any bigger frames? And if so, do you have any idea of when they're expected to be available?
Really, I'm going to say that's probably not something I get directly involved in. I don't get involved in kind of the manufacturing process. What I can say is there is a brand new 15-inch frame that is shipping for sale right now. So I don't think it's on our stores yet because the product is physically in transit, but it's a brand new 15-inch frame. Other than that, I can't say a huge amount. I have one, I've tested it. What I would say, what I love about it personally is the image quality. It's a high definition screen, so it's fantastic. The image quality is incredible, and you know, for me, when I'm viewing the photos I take, I get, you know, that kind of attention to detail on the color and the quality. It's perfect. But beyond the 15, I really can't kind of speculate at the moment.
Okay, I think at this point, we're coming up on an hour. There's a lot of questions, but you know, I was thinking I've been responding some personal notes as well. Who knows, maybe we could do a live Q&A about your Nixplay frame. I mean, it's amazing. I think people enjoy the process of asking questions and hearing answers and sometimes reading and things like that. So that's fascinating. So, but it's been a wonderful, lots of questions, lots of great information. Yes, a lot of questions about this has been recorded. We will be sending the recording ideally tomorrow with additional information. It is an exciting gifting option. I love the gifting option. I hope those of you that, you know, you can always stop and go back and just watch that process. But I think having a Nixplay frame in your home is just it's a wonderful experience of, right, of sharing those memories and things. And so we also have a list of that we have kept the chat. So some of those unanswered questions we can pass on to Michael and Denise as well. Perfect. And make sure that those things can continue to get answered, right? We'll make sure that we get that. And I think, is there anything else, Michael or Denise, that you want to say to the audience?
No, again, just huge thank you for inviting me. And thanks for so many great questions, actually. Yeah, really found it a pleasure.
Yeah, it's great. So, yeah, people get a lot of thank yous and things like that. So again, and we look forward to maybe bringing back more of these. I've asked some people that have even emailed me during this about questions or things. If you have feedback for us about what was helpful, what we can do to improve kind of a format like this, we'd be happy to share that information, and we can continue to find ways to really connect the consumer with a product that they really love, and also to know there's real people behind all of these things. Sometimes I think as consumers in a technology world, we forget that there are human beings actually behind all these things that are happening. So, and so getting to know you, Michael, and hear a little about your story and see your family photos was really helpful to know how much you care about this, about the business and about what it is we're providing for people. Again, my name is Cathi Nelson, the CEO and founder of the Photo Managers. There's a lot of information there. We put out a lot of information about helping you organize, manage, and deal with all those family photos that you have. So thank you very much, everybody, and we'll be in touch again soon. Bye-bye.